Today is one of the most exciting days of the year. I've been working really hard to get the barn ready for winter. The most important part of surviving a long Montana winter is hay. These gigantic bales weigh 1,800 pounds. I am incredibly lucky to have a relationship with a wonderful producer here in Montana, and he drops off a giant stack for me once a year. I like to plan to have some extra hay in case of a hard winter, but I also try and plan for a few rescue horses as well. This year the price of hay was $50 less for each bale, so I was able to get 12 extra bales. Each extra bale that I bought has the potential to feed one horse for 3 months, but I won't know exactly how much extra hay I'll have until I see how bad the winter is going to be this year. When the temperature drops, the horses' feed requirements increase significantly. With temperatures reaching 60 below zero, some days I use a significant amount of hay. I am not able to store this much hay inside, so I need to tarp it in a very specific way so I don't lose too much hay over the winter. This year I'm going to use shavings on the very tippy top of the hay before I tarp it to make it a little slanty. This way when it snows or rains, the moisture will just run right off the hay.
What are you doing, girl?
If I were to buy a horse at an auction right now, I would end up using 3 of these giant bales to feed it through the winter. If I find a horse that really needs help, of course I'm gonna buy it, but I like to try and wait until the winter is over. If this winter ends up being as cold as last year, I might only end up with 6 extra bales. Divvying up the extra hay between rescues can be a huge guessing game. If I end up purchasing a horse that is really emaciated, I'll end up feeding it extra. A young growing horse is also going to have an increased feed requirement that I need to take into account. The rehab pony that I had this summer had a very low requirement for hay. I was able to rehab her and get her in an excellent home in only 30 days. With 6 extra bales, I could potentially rescue 18 horses and put them all through a 30-day rehab. I could also do 6 rescue horses and put them through a 90-day rehab. But what will probably happen is me getting a few horses throughout the spring and putting them through varying lengths of rehab depending on what condition I find them in. Ideally, I would like to buy 1 horse every month from March until July. This allows me to get a new horse once each horse is done with the most challenging part of their rehab. When I get a rehab in, they usually have 30 days of downtime at least before I start training them. Right now, I am totally full with personal horses, so I will not be able to keep any new ones unless I sell some of the ones that I've been working on for a few years. I currently have 13 horses in training. All of them I have owned for over a year, so I've grown quite attached to all of them. One thing that I'm constantly reminding myself when I go to the horse auction is that I can't save them all and that there will always be horses in need. I really like to save the space in my barn for horses that do not have any other options. This year I ended up miscalculating the amount of tarps and also the amount of shavings and bungee cords that I was going to need to strap down all of this hay. Luckily, we had a few really nice days in a row, so I didn't have to worry about the hay getting rained on. My barn cat Tiny is always investigating my handiwork. She will take her job of keeping mice out of this hay very seriously all winter. We do get some crazy windstorms throughout the year, so I really have to make sure that everything is secure and as tight as possible. Nothing is more frustrating than opening up a bale of hay in the springtime and finding out that a little bit of water got into it sometime over the winter. These bales are straight alfalfa, so the moisture can really damage them very easily. I'll probably have to go back in and adjust the bungees after our first big windstorm, but it looks pretty secure right now. The little slot in between the tarp and the hay gets pretty warm, and Tiny loves to hang out up there.
How'd you get up there, girl?
I spent a lot of money on hay this year, and I'm hoping when spring rolls around, it'll be able to help a lot of horses in need. This is what the hay looks like. It is a second cutting alfalfa, so it has a decent amount of stems, but then it also has a lot of leafiness
Hey, little
to it.
girl.
Scarlett was the official
Come on.
taste tester and she approved. She's been getting grass hay all summer, so I'm excited to put her back on alfalfa because she's got some growing to do still. Because I refeed so many starved horses, this alfalfa is perfect. I will be sending off a test so I can make sure all of the horses are getting a balanced diet. I am dreading the upcoming winter, but I am very excited for this spring and the horses that I'm going to be able to help with all of this hay. Thank you so much for watching and stay tuned for the next one.